Would I do if I could feel?
He's got a rocket. His arm is being pulled back by tiny cartoon animals as far back as possible and then flung forward.
You've always said that I throw like a woman, so that
You do throw like a woman.
Super Flag Bros.
You actually look like our mom throwing.
You realize she was
Why
better than
you
both of you,
gotta say
right?
that? By far.
It's not nice.
Super Flag Bros.
I would say by the two of us combined, but the two of us combined is actually worse than one of us by ourselves.
I hate you guys.
PB and Jelly have a couple of veterans on their team as well. We have Joseph Cano and Jay Strachan. They both played for Griffins before. Joseph Cano being a receiver. Welcome everyone. You are listening to and perhaps watching Super Flag Bros. This week, my brother, my Super Flag Bro, Deez Delariz, is not in studio with us because he had car trouble and he's the least handy person in the world. He lost the windshield wiper, does not know how to replace it. So I'm joined instead by the second least handiest guy in the world, President Robert Campana. How's it going, Rob?
It's going good, Paulo. I'll call myself the Andre Rasico of the podcast tonight.
And by that he means the
backup
goaltender.
Yeah, in case anyone doesn't know that.
Well, who knows about Red Light Rasico these
Yeah,
days?
it's true.
We're
you're right.
old, Rob.
Yeah, the old guys will appreciate it.
And of course, our producer is Chapman, as it is always. First of all, Rob, where can they follow you on social media?
My Twitter handle is @RobCam11, which is usually completely useless and quiet and tumbleweed-esque, but I am trying to fill it up with some Periscope videos.
I saw those are pretty cool.
Yeah,
Those are pretty interesting.
last night was filled with just useless video of nothingness, but at least you can tune in and watch slight clips.
Yeah, I
small clips of the
mean,
game.
we obviously can't have a game of the week for every game.
Yeah.
But it's something that's worth exploring. Something that's
for
pretty
sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
Chapman, say hi to the good people.
Hi to the good people.
Chapman can, of course, be found at Eating My Leftovers. And, of course, the technical director for this show is the Eagle at Master Control. You can tweet him and tweet the show live by tweeting at EagleFPF. You can feel free to tell me how handsome I look. That said, a couple things, guys. First of all, David Letterman's bald now and has a big beard. You can't do that on nightly television, so I'm glad that he's chosen this path in his retirement. But speaking of creepy old guys, so Rob, you remember Jared from the Subway commercials?
Of course.
The now disgraced Jared.
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Fogel.
Jared Fogel.
Yeah, that's right.
Of Fogel Enterprises, and an enterprise of which we will not talk about what they actually were involved with. But interesting story about him in the news. Turns out he scored a job making sandwiches in the cafeteria. His new job is to now make sandwiches for prisoners. So it begs the question whether he is actually serving or receiving more of the daily 12-inch specials. Anyway, that brings us to our recaps for the week. I had to do that, of course, because for those who don't know the dynamic, I am the one who is the naysayer for President Campaign all the time. So he often gives me that look you just saw. So if you ever want to know what it's like to be in an FPF meeting, that's the exact look. We'll get more into your the things you know best, Rob, which is actually Flag Plus football, being Lord and master of all that is flag football.
Not sure about that. Go ahead.
Tip Top Shape took on Good Squad in Division at 6 action, so number 1 seed on the number 8 seed.
Yeah.
Tip Top Shape won 20 to 6. Dave DeAndre, however, has only thrown 6 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. So TTS won, but is there cause for concern?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at their matchups over the last few weeks, that could obviously play a factor. Sometimes we
Well, they did play PB and Jelly.
Yeah.
Not last week,
Yeah,
the week before. And then, of course, now the playoff matchup, so obviously you don't expect it
Yeah.
to be easy, but
Yeah.
you want to have some more positivity heading into the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, David is a really solid quarterback. He obviously has some experience before this season, and you tend to see that in Division 6, where someone who has some experience, especially at the quarterback position, heading into the season, will do a little better compared to their opponents over the first few weeks, as a lot of guys just don't really know how the game goes or how it really works, and then obviously guys catch up over the course of the season. I still think David's a really solid Division 6 quarterback, but I feel like maybe the field has caught up a bit somewhat.
We got a live tweet in from at Dave's Republic, my super flag bro, Deez Delariz. He wrote, "Why are wipers detachable anyway?"
Because you have to replace them
Once
every
in a
once in a while.
Perhaps you should have replaced it prior to today. The next game, Rob, saw the Diablos taking on Smoke and Axolts, the 2-7 matchup, and Diablos won 26-14. First of all, Rob, I want you to pronounce that second team name. The Smokin'?
Smokin' Axolotls. There's an L after the T.
I just call them the Axolts.
Yeah, it took me about 3 seasons to figure it out. So.
We didn't really shine the spotlight on Diablo's defense this season, but Alexander Levesque, Michael DeGear, and Vincent Lajoie had 4 interceptions between them in this game. What makes this defense tough for opposing quarterbacks?
I think, I hate to go with the old cliche of experience, but these guys have been in the league for a long time. Whenever we talk about the Diablos, we think of Georges Alivoyer, we think of François Martin, their quarterback and captain. But there are a lot of guys that maybe we don't necessarily know by name, but they're solid contributors that, year in, year out, they know their role on defense, they fulfill it well. And as you can see here, especially Vincent Lajoie with 2 interceptions in the last game came up pretty big when they had to.
Agreed. Team Laval took on Sabre FC. Or as we like to call them on this podcast, the Buffalo Sabres. Team Laval beat the Buffalo Sabres 25-1. Is this surprising? And I'll maybe ask this to Chapman, because Chap, you were talking about this a lot this season. Is this surprising considering Sabre FC season, how up and down they've been, to see them lose in this fashion?
Yeah, it is quite surprising. I'm glad they didn't get shut out, though. That 1 point.
They can really take that to the bank. Rob, Vincent Bradley could not be stopped in this game. He had 1 catch for 30 and a touchdown, and he ran for 40 yards as well. So 70 yards combined, 3 touchdowns, because he also ran in 2 touchdowns. What does he add to the Team Laval offense?
Well, obviously, he must be a dynamic threat. Off top of my mind, Paulo, you threw me a curveball here, because I'll be fair. I'll be honest. I don't know who Vincent Bradley is, so I can't say he had speed or height or anything specific. What I could tell you, though, because I was at the game and I was watching, is Maxime Turpin-Lalonde made 2 beautiful interceptions in key. Especially the first one was really in a key moment in the game where Sabre FC was starting to gain some momentum. Mm-hmm. So I could tell you that throughout the season and the experience that I did have watching Sabre FC, Max Marini is an excellent athlete, but he tends to, like Brent would say in his articles, he tends to roll out quite a bit. He tends to focus in on his brother. So I think Team Laval did a really good job of A, rushing him, and B, throwing Maxime Turpin-Lalonde to cover Mickey and basically taking him away.
And we see that too with a lot of mobile quarterbacks that are new to the league. When their legs get taken away, they sort of panic and do chuck the ball up. Yeah. So kudos absolutely to Team Laval taking that away. Brad Evans, the star of last podcast, obviously it worked because he led TDs and Beer to a big 39-25 victory over Spartans. After a very close first half, TDs and Beer truly owned it. And for all the ways we made fun of Brad Evans last week, can we attribute this to his experience?
Absolutely. I watched that game as well, and Brad did his usual Brad thing, and he matriculates the ball down the field. Brad's not one of the guys when you look at arm strength or speed wise, even in Division 6 as being one of the top guys, but he's year in, year out, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the division because he's smart. He takes what the defense gives him. I think James D'Andrea is the perfect opposite to Brad in the fact that he's got a great arm, throws a great deep ball, but I watched him over the course of this game, and it seems to be the case even if you look at his completion percentage in the regular season. James he needs to learn to take what the defense gives him. Oftentimes he had guys open underneath for 10-15 yards. Those are first down completions, Paulo. Obviously they're not 2 or 3 yard gains, but instead he forced the ball down.
Especially if you have the reputation of being able to stretch the field,
exactly.
An experienced quarterback will hit that intermediate area because that's the secret gold in the lower divisions in FPF.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the next group of games, Rob, I want to remind you, of course, we are brought to you by Sportiera Cage. And Nick Cage once said that it was Friday night and he was king. It is Thursday night, and here at Sportiera Cage, I am treated like a king.
You are a king, Paul.
Absolutely. Whether you're the Thursday night kings or Friday night kings, get your jerseys at Sportiera, the official suppliers of Flag Plus Football, the official suppliers for jerseys and uniforms.
Who would have thought Paulo De La Rocca is such a company man?
Absolutely. Wink. I said wink because some people listen to the podcast.
Exactly.
We're available on 2 platforms, of course, on iTunes and all this other corporate stuff I can add into the podcast. While we're at it, go find 3 other things I can plug, Chapman.
I don't feel like it. No.
PB and Jelly take on Team 4th and 20. Or Chap, what do we call them this season? Team 4th and 20?
420 Blazer. I thought you were talking about PB&J.
PB&J
is Purple and Yellow.
So Purple and Yellow did take on 420 Blazing and won 41-13 on the other side of the bracket, as they are the 1 seed facing the 8 seed.
Yep.
Cano was almost perfect. He was 12-13, 156.3 quarterback rating. For now, they avoided getting added to my list of best.
Great article, by the way. If
thank
you haven't
you,
read it
appreciate
yet, take a look.
Of course, it's referring to my article of the best undefeated teams to have not won a championship. So for now, PB and Jelly have not made that list. And they find themselves alive. How do you stay focused despite having faced adversity? Originally, this question was written up with thinking that these would be here because myself, Deez, Chapman all played on a
that
perfect checkmate team that lost first round.
Stop reminding me.
Well, that article won't stop reminding you. But so, Rob, in your opinion, seeing that you've seen all these teams, and you've seen the ones that have won championships and ones that have been bounced prematurely, whether it's first round or at the finals. How do you stay focused, given that a lot of times things have just gone your way all season?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question because a team like PB&J, most of them have played in the league before, whether it's with Game Changers or on the Griffins the Griffons last winter. So there's a lot of experienced and talented players on this team. They probably shouldn't be in Division 6, to be honest, Paulo. And there was something that you mentioned in your article, which I thought made sense, is that oftentimes you see this in the lower divisions, where teams kind of, especially with the cap system, as great as it has worked in the higher divisions, the lower divisions, there is a bit of a loophole for new teams. So to get back to your question, because I completely diverted it.
Railroaded by Rob Campana.
I'm the worst guy you can ask because I haven't played, but look, they're obviously they know that they're probably the best team in Division 6. So if they kind of read their own press clippings throughout the season, that's one thing. But once you get to the playoffs, you got to take every team seriously because everybody's giving you their best effort. Yeah. And maybe not this round, Paulo, but next round or the round after, once you start to catch teams that you're maybe not as much better than, you might get surprised.
Chapman, you played on that undefeated team as well as a heavy favorite team in the finals. Neither of those teams won a championship. Why is it your fault? And tell us what went wrong, why it was that those teams couldn't stay focused.
Why it was my fault because I'm slow.
There we go. First thing. And now, why couldn't those teams stay focused in the long haul?
Honestly, it was. I think in both times we lost with both teams, it was honestly it came down to the rush, honestly. In both games, we couldn't get to the quarterback, and he just basically had his way with our defense.
Who was our rusher back then, Chapman?
Me. That's why I said I was slow. And to be fair, I didn't want to rush in the championship game.
That's fair. Gamecocks took on CMS Laval as Gamecocks being the 2 seed, win it 34 to 6 over CMS Laval. Gamecocks, Jamie Steinmetz was the best rusher in the league with 18 sacks. He had 2 sacks in this game. And sort of building on what Chap mentioned just now, what does a good rusher add to a defense?
A ton, especially in the lower divisions. I remember that game actually, Paulo. I was scorekeeping at that Division 5 semifinal, and I remember you guys had a specimen of an athlete. That for people who don't know him because he doesn't live in the city anymore, Anthony Carbone is one of the best athletes we've had in this league at the quarterback position, and he was just able to flat out athlete guys throughout the season, run around them and find the open man. And when you run into a pass rusher that you haven't seen all season that can just basically keep you in the pocket, think about it. It forces you to transform your game at the biggest point of the season. And a lot of guys just can't handle that.
Yeah. My own experience playing quarterback, what I found was before a game I could throw the ball through a brick wall. During a game, I throw off my back foot and it comes out so slow. And the issue is that when you have a good rusher, it's exactly that. You don't realize how much less time you have to throw because it's fractions of a second, but it hugely impacts the timing of the routes, your receiver's ability to get open, your ability to deliver a catchable ball. So it's absolutely a big deal. So congrats to Gamecocks and Jamie Steinmetz. To me, Steinmetz has put this team on the map. I'm looking forward to see how they handle it moving forward. NWO took on Jean Guy in probably the closest game of these initial set of playoff games. But once again, the favorite won as the number 4 NWO beat number 5 Jean Guy. Rob, was NWO lucky to face Jean Guy as we both throughout the season considered these to be the 2 most likely teams to go one and done in the playoffs?
Yeah. There were a few factors at play. Emile Lamy did play quarterback in this game. I don't know if you can remind me that the other quarterbacks.
Alex Guirno.
Yeah,
make sure to have that right, Chapman, because I feel like I made that up.
Yeah, but I think you're right.
Nice.
I've seen them both play quarterback. often enough, and I found that the other quarterback was maybe a bit more solid than Emile. Emile is also a pretty solid receiver that you take away. So I think that, I don't know if he just couldn't make it to the game or whatever, but so I think that kind of helped NWO maybe a bit, losing Lamy as a receiver. And I mean, their defense, NWO's defense, especially with Dominic Benevento there and Big Mike Francese. The
Big
name is-
Mike.
I mean, those two guys are, they're higher division athletes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think that Jean-Guy's ability to go deep was kind of limited in this game. Both teams didn't really move the ball very well, but in the end, Jean-Guy was in a position to win it, and on the last play of the game, they couldn't punch it in. So it was a pretty entertaining game if you like defense. If you like offense, it wasn't.
So if you're me, then no.
Yeah.
Rob, Rob, seeing that all the favorites won in the lowest division, where we often can see upsets, does this worry you about the state of Division 6 and potentially Division E?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's tough to say, Paulo. It's there's definitely the gap between the highest and lowest ranked teams in the division is usually the widest in Division 6 for the most part, especially this year that we actually, Division 5 doesn't have 50 teams anymore, so
Yeah.
that helped. But
Yeah, kudos, by the way. That was awesome.
yeah, it worked pretty well. But anyway, but
That's
for
for another
No, yeah,
podcast.
exactly. But for Division 6, hopefully those hosts are on time, so we don't have to do this again. But yeah, is it worrisome? I wouldn't say it's worrisome. It's just, the favorites held suit, but we'll see. We'll see if there's any knockouts here in the second round when the gap tightens up a bit.
What a presidential and even kill response. I now turn to Chapman instead because I want your overreactions for this week. What do you got for me?
Uneventful week. All the favorites won. It's pretty boring. Can we just give PB&J the trophy already?
Just scrap all the other teams.
Yeah.
So Gamecocks, NWO, Diablos, pack it up, enjoy your Easter weekend because
Because PB&J is going to win. Purple and yellow.
all right,
So
purple
if you had
yellow.
to bet PB&G versus the PB and Jelly versus the field, you would take PB and Jelly.
Of course.
So does that mean you will,
I never said I was a smart gambler.
does that mean you'll take one of the remaining challenges off the table
Oh,
chair?
stop trying to finagle your way into this garbage.
All right, so anything else for us, Chapman?
Brad Evans is not the man who wears Hawaiian shirts. This week, he rushed for 63 yards on 5 attempts, which is actually the same amount of the total offense generated from the Buffalo Sabres, not the hockey team.
So no longer the man who stares at goats, no longer the Hawaiian shirt packing the tourist. He is instead the man.
The
Because
man.
He had a great game. Absolute kudos. Anything else?
And my final one is, so Microsoft made an AI chatbot, and basically it taught itself to be an asshole within less than 24 hours. This is probably, this is why you shouldn't give a robot or have a robot respond to the command, repeat after me.
Yeah, because the thing is, so I think this is more of an issue of us as people than
Oh, we're horrible.
than the AI, because it's just responding to us. Rob, I don't know if you saw the story, but
Yeah.
essentially they had to take it down within a day because it went from "I love humans" to just spewing all sorts of Nazi and Nazi propaganda and swearing and Bush 9/11 conspiracy theories and
repeating whatever Trump
vulgarities,
said.
and it was an awesome failure. I think I will call my next team name after that AI.
Tay.
That's something for the future. But when we come back in the near future, of course, we're gonna break down the remaining games that we anticipate what we anticipate happening in the next round of the playoffs. Welcome back, everyone. You were listening to and perhaps watching Super Fly Grows. I am your host, Pease Della Reese. This is, of course, the first playoff edition of Super Flag Bros this season. For those of you new to Division 6 and that made the playoffs, congratulations. For those of you still watching, despite having been eliminated, it was a great season. Good luck next time. Next season rolls around in just a few weeks. Don't forget to register. Rob Campana, my co-host for the day. When is the registration deadline?
They open up on April 1st, and they usually run till about I would say the last week of April. Usually, unless we reach capacity, usually around April 25th is when it.
And remember, do register right away because there is a strong possibility this league grows every season. There's a possibility we will reach capacity. So if you're sitting there not sure what to do, go ahead, register. It'll be the time of your life, the best summer you'll ever remember. And if you go out for drinks, it'll be after games. If you go out for drinks, it'll be the best summer you never remember. Our producer, of course, is Chapman, and our technical director is the Eagle at Master Control. And once again, if you want to tweet the show live like these Delaries did, we will read it out loud, much like the CNN, not CNN, the CNN who did it, or Fox? Who did the AI?
The AI was Microsoft made.
Well, sorry, well, much like the Microsoft AI, we will read anything you put on our Twitter feed. So feel free to tweet us live at Eagle FPF. We are, of course, brought to you by Sportieri Cage, where if you order your jerseys for next season, the next season I just spoke about, and use promo code President, as in President Capana, you will get a 0% discount.
That's terrible.
So, Rob, we have some interesting games coming up this week. So the positive side of all the favorites winning is this leads us to all the favorites remaining in the pool. So I expect much better games this week. Tip-top shape, the 1 seed, with the athletic David DeAndre at quarterback, taking on, as we said, the experience and just the depth of talent on TD Zimbir. How do you see this game going down?
I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it's two veteran quarterbacks who both know what they're doing with the football. Guys that don't necessarily take risks unless they have to. Corey Campbell, who's a young player who is a first-year player for Tip Top Shape, was not there last week. So I think that him coming back, he's been besides probably Ricard Martelli, David's favorite target. So having those two guys on the field, I think they're gonna. Brent called them to lose the first playoff game. He thought that they went to the playoffs cold. They seem to have bounced back last week, despite the fact that their big play player was missing. So I think that they'll do quite well.
That's just a thing we do, Rob. I was on a Division 4 podcast a couple weeks ago, and I said every first seed was going to lose first game. So we'll see if that's the case.
Boost ratings.
We have in the next matchup the Diablos as the 2 seed taking on Team Laval, the 3 seed. Is it going to be the Devils? Is it going to be Laval? So Devils versus perhaps a hellish existence outside of Montreal.
That's your question?
Yeah.
Is that how it's being tossed to me? Okay.
This is Division.
I didn't see a question mark there.
So first of all, first question is, heaven is to hell.
Okay.
As Montreal is to Laval.
Fair.
All right. Next question is, given that we see the Diablos and their big playability and Team Laval with their steady defense that we've seen all season, what wins, the immovable object or the unstoppable force?
I think, like I mentioned, Maxime Turpin-Lalonde earlier and how he was able to take away Mickey Marini from the Sabre FC offense. If you can do that, you can pretty much.
But can he take away Georges Alivoye?
Well, that's exactly it. So this is the challenge that he has this week. I'm confident that he can at least do a good enough job to eliminate Georges to a certain degree. But that being said, I think that the Diablos have shown all season that they, Francois has more than just one weapon. He's comfortable checking down using his second and third read guys. So I'm pretty confident that the Diablos can put up a good fight in this game.
I don't know if anyone remembers the Game Genie. It was a cartridge you slipped onto your Nintendo games to allow you to input cheat codes. Georges Alivoye is the Game Genie for Diablos. Chapman, I need you to look up the prices of Game Genies today. That brings us to Gamecocks versus Brick Squad. Rob, try not to giggle when you say Gamecocks, and tell us what you think will happen in this one.
South Carolina Gamecocks. What's so funny about that, Paula? If you're an SEC football fan instead of a ACC football fan.
I am an SEC football fan.
Are you? I thought you were an ACC guy.
No, I like the Bulldogs.
The lesser. Oh, it's true. That's because your girlfriend tells you to.
Absolutely. She tells me to. I have no choice. Much like how your girlfriend dresses you, Rob. And you look beautiful today. How much for Game Genie?
$18.97. It's on sale.
$18.97?
Yes.
Order me one. So, what were you saying, Rob?
We're talking about the Gamecocks and
Yes.
and Brick Squad,
He said South Carolina.
which I think will be probably the best matchup of this week in Division
Yeah,
6.
it'll be fun.
It'll be interesting to see. I was curious to see how Jared Stewart would actually play as quarterback. It had been a few weeks since they had gone with I think it was Nick Madimenos, who was under center for about 4 weeks, but he obviously wasn't playoff eligible. Jared Stewart did come back, and he actually did a really solid job. You wonder why they ever
Went away from him in the first place.
exactly. So he'll be going up against Daniel Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, or Rickman. I'm not sure how to
Rickman, I
pronounce it.
believe.
Who easily could have won quarterback.
Maybe our
of the year.
producer could look it up for us.
Well, it's the pronunciation is not
It's the
won't be
pronunciation you
there.
guys
Yeah.
are arguing about.
So what impressed me though this past week about the Gamecocks is the fact that Kyle Tanzer, who's probably the best receiver in Division 6,
Receiver of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
exactly, was essentially held to I think 2 catches for like 15 yards in the game. Yet they still put up over 30 points. So it's impressive to see, especially in Division 6, Paulo. We see it where look at Mickey Marini. They were able to take him out of the game, and that's where you see those upsets usually in lower divisions. It usually comes against teams that tend to focus in on just one guy offensively. So this was a really encouraging sign for the Gamecocks.
Absolutely. The final game has PB and Jelly, who Chapman is convinced will win this. Everyone else should go home. Just save yourself some time and some gas money. PB and Jelly take on NWO. Do you think that they should have Chapman-esque confidence heading into this game?
Well, I'll tell you what. I score kept the last time these guys played in Division 3. And PB and Jelly actually won the game on a Hail Mary from their own end of the field. So NWO absolutely showed that they belong on the same field as them. They have regressed somewhat since that game because heading into it, NWO definitely seemed like the better team on the field for that night. Do I think that they'll win this game? I'm not quite sure. They're definitely the underdogs, but I think it may be closer, as Lee Corso says, it may be closer than the experts think.
All right. And
The
we are
experts-
far,
I'm no expert,
and
though.
we are far from experts.
That's
So, with that said, Rob, would you be uncomfortable picking winners?
why don't we let Mo Khan?
So
you
why
can pick
don't,
one
why,
this
why
one.
don't you read us the games and Chapman and I will pick
Okay,
it
that's
as
fair.
the so-called experts
That's
of.
fair. I try to
And,
stay
and Chap,
neutral.
give us the prediction of the score as well.
Oh, what the hell? That's difficult.
You overreact to everything. Just overreact to what you think the score
Okay.
will be.
All right, so first game. First seed, tip-top shape against the 4 seed TDs and Beer in Conference A, is it?
But
regardless.
in the conference they play in,
exactly.
Doesn't matter.
the ACC.
Tip-top shape, TDs and Beer.
Chapman, ladies first.
I'm gonna pick TDs and beer here.
Okay.
Upset special.
32-26.
It's creepy. It's creepy. I was going to say Teas and Beer, 32-24. Honestly, I just think David DeAndre makes a couple of mistakes. Brad Evans is great with the lead and terrible when he gets behind. So he's the kind of guy that when you walk into the casino, you don't want to see him with stock attack of chips. He'll be hiding his Hawaiian shirt, but you don't want to see him that way because when he has the upper hand, he'll really choke you to death. And a couple good defensive players on the team, Miles Keeler, one of them that comes to mind immediately. I think will give David DeAndre a lot of difficulty in this game.
How is that for analysis, Division 6? Awesome.
Some of it was related to football.
All right, we got Diablos versus Team Laval in the 2 versus 3 seed matchup.
I'm gonna go with Team Laval, 31-19.
4-5-0.
I don't know, chap. I can't see Team Laval putting up that many points. You know where they say defense wins championships? They never met FPF. This is a very offensive league, and offenses shine in the playoffs. I think Diablos are one of the most dangerous teams remaining in the playoffs. I would not be surprised to see them just take off from this point. And I think at some point there's going to be cracks in the armor, and François Martin will find them, and he has probably the biggest arm in this division. So therefore, in the arm measuring contest, Diablos win, and I'm going to reverse the score, 31-19.
We have agreement on the score, not the winner.
No.
And then in the other conference, we got the 2 versus 3 matchup is Gamecocks and Brick Squad.
He said big squad.
I'm gonna go with Brick Squad in this one. I'm trying to determine a decent score for this. I think it's gonna be 38-32. High scoring game.
High scoring game, I'm inclined to agree, but again, I'm going to go with Gamecocks instead. I think it's going to be sort of a 34-26 game. Gamecocks win it. It's going to be close, and then they'll score a meaningless touchdown at the end to ice it, and that's how it's going to go.
Last game of the weekend, PB&J
By how many points?
Chapman's PB&J versus NWO.
Purple and yellow?
Purple and yellow, damn straight, they're gonna win, and I think this one is gonna be 38 to like. Well, I'll give them 19.
I think it's gonna be the I think it's gonna be like 41-36. Sanchez is gonna step back, throw up a prayer at the end. But unlike last time where PB and Jelly won on the Hail Mary, they're gonna lose at the Hail Mary, and all of a sudden they will all have lost their religion, as
you lose your
their
religion
prayers
too.
will not have been answered. That brings us to perhaps everyone's favorite and maybe no longer favorite segment of the show. But that's what we do on this show. We take a joke that's funny and we drive it into the ground so bad that people hate us for it. So we do Science Hour with Duke, but instead of Duke, it's going to be Rob. And for those of you who don't know, I once hired President Robert Campana to do some work as a science teacher in an adult education school. He lasted, I believe, 47
3
minutes.
days.
47 minutes.
3 days.
He came to me in tears. He said,
Tears.
"Please, I can't do this. I just don't know anything about science. So this should be as entertaining as when
I let
these
you
in the
down,
hot seat."
Paulo. I let you down.
You did. And I haven't
There were no
recovered.
tears involved, though. I'll
So
admit
many tears. What do we got, Chapman?
So this week, I actually wrote down a piece of paper because every week Duke asks me to spell it out for him. So I will say it and then pass you the paper
Okay.
and then wish you good luck.
That's fair.
Chandra Sekar Limit.
I'm asked
You-
to define this.
Yes.
I will say.
What's it again? Sorry, the Chandrasekhar limit?
Yes.
Can I just plead the fifth here, or do I have to actually try to answer this? I
Well,
guess that's the fun part of it, right?
The
Is
fun
me
part is you
trying
answer
to-
it.
It's you
Whatever
not
comes
being
to
Which
mind.
is fun for you, but not for me. right?
Exactly.
I will say that this is where the solar system, the solar system's. How can I put this into words that won't make me look like a complete idiot?
Just start using random ones. see how it goes.
I would say it's the outer limits of the solar plex.
The solar plex.
Solar plex, I like that.
Not
Not related to the soccer plex.
Much like we added
It's
a new
a cousin of the
soccerplex
soccerplex.
to our roster of complexes. The what's it called? The Chandrasekhar limit.
Chandra Sekar Limit.
The Chandrasekhar limit is, of course, the outer extremities of the solar plex.
That's right.
Rob, any final thoughts? Thank you for being a good
See,
sport, by the way.
I tried to be an idiot. In this case, I actually didn't.
It's
know
tough
what the
because
hell
you're
was
so much smarter than these.
It was actually close. It actually is related to
Oh, not bad.
astrophysics
the solar
and all that
system.
stuff. Yeah.
The plex was a throw-in, but I hope
The
you know.
planets, but not the solar system.
you
Not
know,
bad.
Yeah.
Any
But-
final thoughts?
Sorry.
Any final thoughts?
You know what? I'm really curious to see if we're gonna have some upsets this week in Division 6. You brought it up. Obviously, all the winners held suit this week. So we'll see if there's any upsets in the making. I have a feeling that there will be at least one or two this weekend.
Chapman.
I picked 3 upsets. I couldn't go against PB&J though, so I would have picked NWO. But I couldn't do it.
Eagle, thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, that brings us to Thursday's lesson plan. Guys, this week is not this week, but it's coming up soon. And how far are we from the finals?
It is Saturday, April 9th.
Saturday, April 9th. So that's not this
It's a little
weekend.
more than 2 weeks away.
A little over 2 weeks. So not this week, not the next. It'll take us to the finals. Honestly, and we have sort of like a Champions Week in a sense. As we do like interviews with teams. We have what we call the press conference. So after you win your conference finals game, don't go anywhere. One of the members of the show will track you down and ask you to come to the Sportira cage where we will talk to you and ask you some questions about the upcoming game. It's sort of like a UFC weigh-in. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time. I'm a terrible interviewer, so you can make fun of me if you like. That said, the next thing I want to draw attention to is the road show. It's the coolest thing that FPF does. The thing that separates FPF from all of the leagues is we do a live play-by-play of the final. And I got to thank Eagle for all the work he's put in advance for this, as well as all the work he's done historically for this. None of this would be possible because none of us know how computers work except for him. And so honestly, it's great. It's a fun time. For those who want to come watch it live, it's at the Brossard complex in Brossard, the Bell right off this town. Honestly, I went to see finals right after my first season. It was a great experience. I got to learn a lot about the league real quickly because you get to see all sorts of divisions at play. It's a great time. Grab yourself a Five Guys sandwich. Stay there. Come chill with us. We're gonna be there all day, so come keep us company. Sorry? Beers on Chapman. So he's already
Wise.
agreed in advance.
Not bad.
Beers and fries, apparently. It's a great combination. And for now, remember, goodbye.